All right, I'm lying in bed. I have the laptop out. In this episode, I want to go through more for me in my brain to go through financial projections to see what I think the future looks like and where I've been in the past. So to paint a picture, I amassed a large amount of money through hard work or sweat equity in my previous role as a coach driver in Europe, as well as when I came back to Australia in COVID. I drove the public buses here, and I didn't live much of a life. I worked 6 days a week as much as I possibly could. I hustled that work, and a lot of that money that I made, or most of the money that I made, would sit in my bank account in Australia, basically untouched. So I didn't have to pay interest on the tax because I wasn't a tax resident of Australia at the time. So when I came back to Australia 3 months ago, the first thing I did, because I knew I would be paying tax in Australia this financial year, and those who aren't from Australia, Australia's financial year is from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. So any money I put in from the 30th of June would basically be taxable. And I knew I'd make money in an income for work. I deposited all that money into one high interest savings account with ANZ called ANZ Plus. It's like an online version of ANZ, and currently the interest rate is 5%. That yields me around about, and we can go through the numbers, it's about $1,100 a month in interest. $1,100 a month in interest, and that's what I basically have been living off when I have groceries, beer money, having like a sinking fund for future expenses that I know are coming up, and I'll show you that in my budget software. But basically, that's all my money's been doing. Is I've had money in a high interest savings account earning 5%, and in November I started to do a bit of research, and I've been experimenting with a online brokerage platform in Australia called Pearler. And Pearler is an online brokerage platform for different stocks and ETFs that charge $5.50 Australian for a transaction fee or brokerage fee. And I currently have about $26,000 in 5 different ETFs. And I'll explain now or soon why I have what I have, because some of it was very much thought for, and 3 of them were kind of like, I heard about core and satellite. The other ones were more satellite. There's not very much money. I think maybe $5,000 tied up in them, but it was just for me to see what works and what doesn't work as a bit of an experiment before I start lumping in $250,000 worth of money into different stocks and ETFs. So I'm going to point you at my laptop. I'll also screen record so you can actually see my figures, etc. Okay, so I use a budgeting software that I've found that works really well for me, and it's called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. So in YNAB, you have your budget, you have Reflect, you have all accounts, and then it has all the money that I have in different accounts here. And this is real, this is actual dollars, and I currently have in liquid assets $308,000. Then I also have down the bottom here is I have, in Australia we have a thing called superannuation retirement account. So in America I believe they call it like a IRA, individual retirement account. In Australia the employer, so my employer at the moment is Greyhound, obliged to pay 11.5% of my gross normal earnings. So that doesn't include allowances, overtime, etc. And that's just additional to what I make. So what I am currently doing is I am putting an additional 15% on top of that in order to bump up my superannuation. And we can talk about superannuation later on, but that's what I'm currently doing. So these are the numbers I currently have. I have some spreadsheets to show. Let's look at some spreadsheets. So I made this spreadsheet up in Google Sheets, and basically on the Pearler website you can actually use a calculator. In this calculator basically you put everything in, how much money you currently have, etc., and it kind of works out what you kind of need to retire on as a FIRE person. I'll link this perhaps at the bottom, but maybe it's not even there for years to come. But the nuts and bolts of it is, I know I have more than this, but these are just rough numbers. And I'm starting my journey. I want to keep, this again, these numbers will change, but I just put in the calculator, I want to keep $20,000 in liquid cash. I have this much in super, and I'm going to move this $260,000 from cash into my investments so they can start to earn interest or capital gains on the money. So I plan to do that on Monday next week. Then it says basically in April, I'm done investing in Perla, and then all the money that I make needs to go straight to superannuation because it's a tax advantaged account. And then it's saying that these numbers by August 2031, I should be able to retire. And that's a rough estimate of the amount of money that I should have. So that's approximately 1.45 million Australian dollars. And then I can retire and I'm done. So I've put these kind of numbers into the spreadsheet. Now, in the spreadsheet, I have put in that I'm currently able to save around $2,000 a week. January is a 5-week month, so that's why it says 10,000. But these are just, I have no idea. Things will change in May because I'm no longer able to do this run because this particular route is only a seasonal route. But these are just rough numbers. Once I have a bit more of an idea throughout the year, I can adjust my projected savings. If these are my projected savings, and I'm currently worked out that if I estimate an 8% growth over the period of this journey, then at the end of each month, this is what I should have in my portfolio when it comes to, in my Perla portfolio. So at the end of the year, I hope to save $92,000 and have amassed $387,000 when it comes to my total deposits, as well as $24,000 in capital gains from the money that's been working for me. And if we go down, I've got like 2027, and I think the magic number was 655. So that's in July, as far as my calculator is concerned. And then over here, I've got my actual, so what I actually achieve. And then I want to take stock at the start of every month or the end of every month with what my actual live numbers are. And then it tells me my breakdown of cash to shares, my net worth. Currently, I have only 8% of my net worth in shares and 91% is in stocks, and I kind of want to flip that around. Moment when I'm starting off, I have money tied up in annual leave. I have the ability to work. I'm wanting to work, so if something were to happen, I can always leave and get another job or find other work. So the amount of money in liquid cash that I have, I think I want to minimize that to around 15,000, building up to 21,000, and then when I get that 15 plus 6, that 6 will be put into my Perla investment account, just because the way the brokerage fees work. If I deposit 2,000, which I have been doing, and I have since learnt that maybe that's not the best way, I will spend a lot of money on the brokerage fees, that perhaps it's best to bank up some money and then deposit it. So I believe the plan will be when I'm around that $6,000 mark is when I will then bank away and transfer the money from my bank account to my Perla investment account. So that's why I say I only want to keep maybe $15,000 in cash that I can go to the bank machine and take it out. But if something were tragically to happen, I could always sell some of my ETFs. Not ideal, but if I have to, It's liquid, I can sell it. But when I get closer to retirement, I want to have at least 10%. And if I have around $1.2 million in my portfolio, I will want to have around, maybe not 10%, perhaps around $80,000 to $100,000 worth of money in a bank account, just as a cushion that should markets dip, that I'm not having to sell an ETF or stock or whatever at a bad time in the market. So I'm conscious of that. So I have what I have now. The way I start isn't the way I'll end. And then I have my goals, and my goals are down here. Goals over this tab. This is what I need to have at the end of each year. and then what I need to have when I'm retired. Now, let's go into my Perla account. Stand by. So this is my Perla platform. So currently my capital gain is $1,023. Okay. These are the ETFs that I currently own. So I currently own IVV, which is the S&P 500, so American stocks. DHHF, which is a diversified portfolio, which is American, worldwide, Australian, as well as emerging markets. I like this stock, and I'll talk about why I have it and why I don't want it. Then I have these fun ones. Hack, which is like cybersecurity. Gear, which is a geared or leveraged ETF of the Australian ASX 200, and a managed fund, because I wanted to see what a managed fund performs like compared to an index fund. Back to DHHF. So DHSF, or IVV, is the one that I bought first, because all the different people that I've been watching on YouTube, the Ramsey Show, Dave Ramsey, he's always talking about how no stockbroker has been able to consistently outperform the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 is averaging like 11% over the last 100 million years. And then if you put money into the into the S&P 500 when you're 20 and you didn't, you put $50 away, you'd be $50 million, whatever. A lot of money, but that's the one that I've heard more about, and it makes more money, like you can see. But I've learned about diversification. So the DHHF one does that. It has an S&P 500 element. It has stocks from around the world. It has stocks from Australia. It has emerging markets. So it has a bit of diversity. It's not just in one area. Like if America goes to crap and Australia is fine, then I don't want to be investing 100% in America. My plan, and I've done a lot of research and I've crunched the numbers, is I want to create a portfolio similar to DHHF. The only issue I have is but DHHF and those types of all-in-one kind of ETFs are fantastic for people who are starting off and they have maybe a couple of $1,000. I want to put in nearly $300,000 and I want to put in that money for, the next 10, 15 years. I want to be able to balance and weigh up the different sections, like the different locations in that portfolio throughout the time. I don't want to just set and forget it, because why would I want to keep doing things in a market that's not doing well and blah, 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 blah. So I kind of want to do it, but I kind of want to deconstruct it. So that's where I spent all day, the last few days, studying that. So I've got a plan. Here's my plan. So if I go down here to my watch list. So I'm going to buy these ETFs on Monday. Today is Thursday. So I got VGS, which is an index fund of international shares. So this has America. This has your S&P 500, but this also has so it does have like your Apples, your Amazons, etc. But it does have other markets around the world, not just the US. So that's what I want. Then I've got the same kind of one, but it's hedged because of all these ETFs are in Australian dollars, and the hedged one basically smooths out the bumps of the currency fluctuation. Then I've got VAS, which is like an Australian component, so the ASX 200 best stocks or companies in Australia. VGE, the emerging markets, so places like China, Southeast Asia, and then small companies around the world. So all of these are kind of the same as what's currently in DHHF, but broken down. So it gives me a bit more flexibility. It will cost me more money in brokerage fees, but at least I can balance it over the next 10 odd years with money that I'm depositing into it, like that higher than I think is the ideal for it. Could be wrong, but personal finance is personal, and that's my take on it. So if we go back to this, I don't want to sell off at this time the ones that I purchased before. So these ones here. So these numbers aren't correct; they're not accurate. Obviously, things have changed, but that's the amount of money. Well, that's what I have there. But this is the most important part. This is the percentage weightings I have. So I want to keep minimal of these, and these will drop. I don't want to buy any more of these. I just want to hold them on. In Australia, you can sell them after 12 months and pay a capital gains tax of only 50%. If I sold them today, then I'd pay capital gains on 100%. I'll crunch the numbers again on Monday, but I plan to purchase these amounts. And, I don't come from money. I've worked hard for my money, and I've sacrificed a lot for my wealth, over the last number of years, working hard and, living a very modest and minimal lifestyle. That one ETF being nearly $100,000, 100,000 Australian dollars. It's going to be a monumental time when I'm here in like 4 days' time, clicking that button and sending it to the stock market, and the volatility that comes with it, and that stress of it going up and down. Because I'm not stupid, and I'm not lost at the fact that the stock market doesn't just keep going up and to the right all the time. It does go down and to the right. I'm just going to have that stomach and think to myself, like, I have superannuation, and that sits in the stock market as well, and that goes up and down, but I don't care about it. But that also has $140,000 in it, and that's just par for the course. That's just the way that it works. And if I want to amass wealth, I have to trust that it will be okay. Maybe not next year, next month, but in maybe up to 10 years' time, it'll balance itself out. And if the pandemic comes again and I can't retire, like when my goal is, that's fine. But I can't sit with my money in a bank account making only 5%, and then if interest rates decrease, that interest rate's going to decrease, and I'm back to square one. So I need to risk something, and no risk, no reward. That's my plan. So I'm going to purchase this amount of money. Every month, I'm going to change these figures into what I call my balancing calculator, and then if this particular one goes up a lot, then the percentage difference will go up too much and it will turn red, and that tells me that I need to I don't want to sell, but balance it out by increasing the amount of stock in other areas. I have all these different comments for my mental notes, and these are like my ideal goal amounts that I would like to have. But anyway, every time I make a purchase, I'm going to add the purchase amount into the spreadsheet just so I can track how much capital gain each has made. I'm not a math whiz, but I'm pretty sure I got it right that this particular stock that I bought in November currently, from here to today, has made me 2.55% capital gains. But if we extrapolate that over a 12-month period, I'm actually earning 15% if the market averages what it has over the last, 3 months. So that's why this particular stock is at 96%, because, I've made in 15 days, I've made $1.25 when I only paid 36 out of a dividend, it's going to be nearly double my money if it continues to go. But the thing is, the stock market's gone up in the last 30 days, and it's obviously going to go up and down. So this is just for my understanding, so I can understand what's going on, but this is more the capital gain that we want to be focused on. But once it hits the 12-month birthday, if I wanted to sell it off, I could, and I would save 50% in capital gains tax. So yeah, that's my spreadsheets. So I'm going to add to these every time I buy stocks, and then once a month, I'm going to take stock of everything that I have here in Perla is going to be copied over, just for simplicity's sake, into this spreadsheet, and that will give me a bit of a running total, and hopefully in Perla things do the right thing and everything goes up, so I can maintain my goal. So yeah, that's just a real simple, brief overview as to my financial plan for the next 8+ years. And I have I have milestones that I want to achieve, and if I achieve them, I achieve them, and if I don't, I don't. I've recently started to take a bit more care in the food that I eat, and I could very easily eat rice and beans, as Dave Ramsey says. Spaghetti bolognese 24/7, I would eat that, and it would cost me very little. But I'm happy to spend the extra money in fresh vegetables or frozen vegetables, of salads, and cooking my own food, rather than going to takeaway. Might cost a bit extra, but I might save a bit extra as well. But I'm not going to go to that stupid degree of sacrifice in order to hit goals. I will, perhaps not buy a carton of beer 1 month because the stock market's down and I want to go up in the right direction. But I'm not going to sacrifice my standard of living. I'm not going to live in a box on the street. I will flat share. I will do whatever it takes. I will do the sensible things. But I'm not going to be disappointed to the point where I'm going to be like, fuck it, quit. I'm done. I'm going to be flexible enough with my projections and smart enough to understand that today might be down, tomorrow might be up, and then hopefully by the time 2028 rolls around, it's only in like 3.5 years time that I hit that first milestone, which is having that $655,000 in my brokerage account, and then that I'll switch over. Now, going back to what I said before about superannuation, I'm currently contributing 15% of my standard pay into super. And I'm happy enough with that at the moment while I'm up here in Airlie and Harvey Bay, because my accommodation's covered on both ends and I'm literally spending nothing but for food. In May, when it finishes, and I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I know that the amount of money that I will earn and then therefore save will drop. Not a lot, but it will drop. And I want to maintain that savings rate, that I might push pause on that superannuation contribution, because priority for me is, again, in Australia, like maybe not in America, but in Australia, superannuation, you can't access any of the money until you're 60 years old. So if I want to retire by I'm 50, I need some money to satisfy me for 10, 12 years until I can access that money in superannuation. So the more money I put in superannuation today means I may have less to survive before I can access it. So I need to balance that and think to myself, right, I'm going to balance it out by putting more money now into my own stock market investments, which I don't get tax savings. I have to pay the marginal rate, but the way that my pay works at the moment with different allowances, like I got paid today and my taxable income was 23.8%, but with all my allowances and stuff, my tax rate was 18.3. So if I put money into superannuation, I'm getting taxed at 15. So it's only 3.3% extra that I'm being taxed, just because of the different meal allowances and uniform allowances and remote working allowances I get that aren't taxed, that it kind of doesn't change too much. So I think I'm going to just leave it, and then in the end of April I will pause superannuation self-contributions. Like my employer will still add to my own fund, but I won't, and that extra money will just go additionally into my Perla brokerage account, so that money can grow faster, so I can retire faster, and then that should deplete by the time my superannuation is able to be accessed. I think I will leave it there. I don't think that there's anything else to talk about in this episode. It's probably gone for like half an hour, if not longer. But yeah, I just want to get everything out that I have in my mind, out of my brain, because this journey is going to be interesting, and I want to sort of diary it when it does happen and why I'm doing it now, rather than, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to publish these straight away. These will probably come out in a big series, and in 8 years' time, I've probably forgotten what's happening. And it feels like kind of Big Brother, that goes the diary route. But yeah. Peace